Hello friends and welcome to the video. So I was discussing with somebody in the comments this week about how wonderful it is that with the internet we have access to all this information. We have at our fingertips the knowledge that would have been considered kind of secret knowledge before, not dangerous knowledge even. And here we have it in YouTube videos. Of course, in the past, you would probably had to leave your family at the age of 8, join a monastery, meditate every day, getting up at, 3 in the morning, working hard, doing rituals, eating their diet, being humble and following all the laws of being a monk. And then after 40 years or something, you would be invited into the abbot's office and he would have whispered in your ear, "You are the ultimate reality. You are one without a second." And there it would have all opened for you. Of course, because we just get it on YouTube and it's just another video you click, it doesn't have the same impact. But here we are. We can explore non-duality in many different religions. At the moment, we've got, of course, Advaita Vedānta, Christian mysticism, Jewish Kabbalah, Neoplatonism, Islamic Sufism, Taoism, Buddhism, and there's probably more I can't think at the moment. And then we've got all the idealism that's having a renaissance. Probably also we've got, all these ideas really accessible. Almost the problem is that it's too much information, but I mean, it's difficult to know who to listen to. So that's kind of why I'm making my videos, just to say what I found interesting more than certain other things. Now, but so are we, as Eckhart Tolle repeats, are we on the verge of a global increase in the level of consciousness, that kind of thing? Now, firstly, I don't really believe that consciousness can increase or decrease, but apart from that, I get his point. Have we reached a critical mass? Is that enough people can get access to this information easily that it's really going to push forward a new age? Although, yes, we tried the new age before and now it's a bad word. So let's not call it a new age, shall we? Golden age, how about? That's what the commenter mentioned. So, what do I think? I think we could be. I certainly hope so. I have this, my gut feeling is that most people are not really interested in this, partly because I'm an English teacher and I've had to have lots and lots of conversation classes where I discuss anything that keeps us going for an hour and a half, twice a week, for many years. So we do cover these things, and most people are just not interested. Now, in the past, there were also times when non-dual philosophy kind of led or was important in the mainstream religions. We don't see much of it now. It's kind of sidelined. It's there in most of the religions, but it's not the main thing, not the mainstream thing that everyone follows. This is, in Christianity, for example, we have Pseudo-Dionysius, who was influenced by Neoplatonism and spoke of an apophatic God, not this, not that. And he was actually very, very important in the early church, but it was as the church grew, it became more it controlled more tightly the doctrine, and mystics and people having mystical experiences are not good. You can't, if everyone's going around saying I'm Jesus, it doesn't help. As I'm sure you've heard of people who do, or maybe you've met them in the street, who say this kind of thing. There is a point why they would try to kind of say, no, this is the doctrine, you have to believe this, or you're excommunicated. We see it also and also people, what spreads most easily, and we see this in India. In Advaita Vedānta was actually, Shankaracharya was very early, and all the bhakti movements developed after him. So this non-dual idea was overtaken by the devotional, the bhakti movements, probably because normal people, not people like me and you probably, really like the devotional aspect. You ask for something and you hope you'll get it because God loves you, and you have this loving relationship with God, and you go to big churches or big temples where you practice together. There's this community, you have singing and that kind of thing. It appeals to people more than self-inquiry, asking yourself, what am I really? All the paradoxes that we grow to love in non-duality, and this kind of exploration into what is the ultimate reality. Most people are more grounded in the everyday world, and so probably for this reason, it took over. This devotional aspect took over the church, Catholic Church, and the Hindu religions. Now, we also see it as well in Islam. The Sufism was very popular in the past, but as the big powerful people oppressed it, because again, you can't really have people having visions and claiming that they have this access, this knowledge. They have to, the powers need to keep it with them, the authority with them. And in some ways, it's the reason why we have these big institutional churches that do maintain this message. They do hold this. It does continue the non-dual message in the sidelines. The reason why these things exist is because it's kind of a bit like how animals, evolution works. They work by defending their boundaries, growing their bodies in an animal sense, but growing the church, getting rid of the enemies that challenge it. And so it's kind of, this is how they've come about. The organizations, the religious organizations that didn't do this are not here now. So, but thankfully, they have held this message, even though it was hidden and nobody's interested in it in the past. It's there. Now, are we going to have this revival now? Well, certainly we've got this new interest in idealism, philosophical idealism, the idea that everything's in mind rather than matter, because science has got to a point where they've got various sticking points, so they can't get past. How does the brain produce consciousness? The hard problem of consciousness. And the best that they can come up with at the moment, and I like science, is promissory materialism. They say right now we can't fix it, but in the future we will. And things have been proven by science. This has happened many times, but it's also happened the other way. History is strewn with the corpses, something of scientific theories that were never proven, and they were just let go of eventually. So this idealism is, and also panpsychism, the idea that matter has some conscious element, and idealism promoted by Bernardo Castro, presenting a really scientifically rigorous and philosophically rigorous model that could say that mind is the reality. When we look into matter, we look and we look and we look, all we find is, well, we just keep looking. We name things. We say this is a molecule, then we say, okay, it's subatomic underneath there. And we say, okay, that's quantum fields underneath there. At the end of the day, this is a map we've built to represent the territory. And the territory, when people say, the ultimate reality is just numbers. So it's all data. And some people say this information. But what's that information in? It's like you have a map, you draw a map, and to get around your territory. And then you pass down the map a few centuries, generation to generation. And then one day somebody realizes they're trying to look into the map to find out what the map's made of. And they just realize this is just information. Reality is just information. And they forget that they've been trying to look at the map, measuring the map. Anyway, so we also have the psychedelic revolution. People, everyday people, not everyday people, but people taking psychedelics and having mystical experiences. There are now, it was after the 60s, of course, lots of people irresponsibly taking acid. And so it was made illegal. And now it's becoming okay to do experiments with it. And there's different universities that are running experiments, and people are having mystical experiences that they say are the same as traditional mystical experiences, where somebody would have had to meditate for a long time, fast, pray. You take psilocybin, and you have a genuine non-dual experience, connection to God, and all of that. But but that's taking drug. You can't go to the supermarket when you're on magic mushrooms. You can probably go to the supermarket if you've been meditating a lot, though. I would hope so. Now, or even when you're enlightened, definitely. But the psilocybin or I don't know really, but the psychedelics, they take apart parts of the brain, remove the limitations, but the limitations that you kind of need to be able to drive your car and things like that, not good to take. There are other ways. And I think that is what is driving more people towards non-duality, because they've had these experiences and they realize that they're more real than real. So we've got that. Now we've got all the information on the internet, surely, and we've got the scientists and philosophers starting to look in this direction. Phenomenology is becoming important, analyzing from your first person point of view, not just objective science, where we're looking at a model that we've built that's objective to us. Instead, realizing that any science, any experience we do is through our own experience. So like the glasses we wear, we have to realize that the experiments we're doing are seen through the glasses. We should look at the glasses to see what they are doing to the whole vision. So the phenomenological approach has become popular in the last few hundred years as well, giving more importance to the personal subjective experience. And I think this is happening in culture as well, that we're becoming less about communities, which may be bad, not in the case of communism or fascism, but more about the importance of the individual experience. So, what can stop us? What could possibly stop us? Well, in the past, it was institutions who cracked down. In this case, it probably won't be institutions. It'll probably just be getting a bad name. The non-duality, all of this stuff that we're looking into will get a bad name because of maybe bad gurus, people claiming their enlightenment. Anybody can say it. And then you find out that they're a terrible person. And then you have to start trying to justify it by saying, well, maybe they were enlightened, but the body that we see has all the conditioning. And even though they were free of the body, from their point of view, and they spoke directly from open, loving awareness, we just see the body doing all those awful, all the abuse and all that. So that if there's so many people, it's so easy to make a YouTube channel and say, look, I'm enlightened, therefore I'm an authority, that could give it all a bad name. Also, the way money's going to get involved, and this could either be good or bad. It's already happened with mindfulness. Mindfulness is a massive industry now of people making apps so you can do meditation. I use one. It's very useful for me. I use Insight Timer now. I did start with Headspace, but it did get me into meditating, so it was good. But it's a massive industry, and it will be easy for people to start dismissing these ideas because of it's money, it's bad gurus, people wanting power and money and that kind of thing, and just rejecting it offhand, as they do with lots of things, without thinking deeply about something. Just you hear other people say bad things about it, and automatically you say, yeah, well, that's that. My friend says it's like this. So that is the danger. Too much money and too many people lying. Let's hope we get through it. I do think that the movement is strong enough, but I also think that people are not so interested in these kind of questions that we're interested in. I think you need a certain level of spiritual maturity to be asking these questions, and to have an insight now, maybe right now, you've had this insight that the external world won't give you happiness, or maybe in previous lives, I mentioned previous lives again, you were actually a billionaire, you were actually all these, and this life is the one where you're actually going to get enlightenment, because you realize that the beauty, the truth, the love that you look for in the world is actually something, it's your true nature. So that's what I think. Tell me what you think. Are we on the edge of this golden age? Is it going to be ruined by somebody, big organizations, or just criminals? Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.